Kinumpirma ng Department of Health na na-detect na sa bansa ang Omicron sublineage na BA.2 o stealth Omicron na itinuturing bilang variant under investigation. Alamin po natin ang latest development ukol dyan. Kumustahin ang patuloy na mahigpit na pagbabantay ng Genome Center sa pag-detect ng mga COVID variants. Makakasama po natin si Dr. Cynthia Saloma ng Philippine Genome Center. Good morning po, Doc, and welcome back sa Laging Handa.
Good morning din po, Yusek Rakia, sa ating mga tagapakinig.
Opo. Doc, may bagong update na po ba from our World Health Organization tungkol dito sa behavior o characteristic nitong BA.2 sublineage or stealth Omicron? Base po sa analysis ninyo, ano po yung significant difference ito sa original na Omicron variant?
So, Yusek, based on our analysis, yung BA.2 po, siya yan po yung ating dominant and the one circulating variant in the Philippines, particularly in our local community transmission. So, based on the data worldwide, this is really, the BA.2 sublineage of Omicron is really occupying a very small percentage of the global samples that have been sequenced, that have been assigned to the Omicron variant lineage. However, Yusek, at sa atin na rin mga tagapakinig, there has been an increasing uptick of cases na detected with the BA.2 sublineage, particularly in Denmark, in the UK, and Singapore, and also, of course, in India and here in the Philippines. It's really the dominant local subvariant of Omicron that is circulating. So regarding po sa kanyang mga characteristics, the only hallmark lang naman po nitong BA.2 has been the fact that it was originally given a moniker of stealth Omicron. And gusto ko pong explain lang na yung stealth Omicron po na BA.2, madidetect pa rin po siya sa RT-PCR, except that tinawag siyang stealth Omicron kasi it lacks the deletion 69 to 70 in the spike region that is really targeted by the commonly used RT-PCR kit doon sa Europe at sa ibang countries na tinatawag nilang TACPath. So yung TACPath po na kit na ito has three targets within the genome nitong Omicron o nitong SARS-CoV-2 at kasama na po itong region sa spike protein. Kasi imbis na 3 positives o 3 signals maging positive, nagiging 2 na lang siya kasi nga po may S gene dropout dito. So ginamit nila itong parang signal or hint, the most likely is either an alpha or an Omicron variant kasi wala naman po masyadong alpha ngayon, so sinususpect nila Omicron variants. However, si BA.2 po, wala po siyang mutation dito sa 69 to 70 region. Wala siyang deletion, kaya hindi mo siya makikita sa routine S-gene dropout. Positive pa rin siya sa RT-PCR testing, except that yung one of those signals po nawawala. Kaya tinatawag po natin siyang stealth Omicron.
Opo, Doc, ulitin lang po natin. Ayon po kasi sa Department of Health, predominant na itong some regions ang stealth Omicron. Pero so far, base po sa monitoring ng Philippine Genome Center, ilang cases na po yung na-detect na Omicron dito sa atin? At kung may datos na po ba kung ilan dito yung sinasabing BA.1 or BA.2 sublineages?
Opo, Yusek, marami na po tayong, ang datos po natin ngayon is really based on the 517 whole genome sequences that have been done by the PGC as of January 13. We have additional cases po ng Omicron, the details of which will be released by the DOH sometime later today. So I'm just going to refer Yusek to the one where we did a lot of the analysis. So the subvariant, sublineage BA.2 po, we have detected this in our in the 12 regions of the country, in all the 12 regions of the country. Yung ibang rehiyon po na wala pa tayong na-detect, hindi naman po nagpapahiwatig na wala po tayong Omicron doon, except that they were not able to send samples to us either because of problems in transportation or some other. So, Yusek, it is safe to say that the subvariant or this Omicron variant is already all over the country. So sa atin pong nakitang mga sequences, ang atin pong mga international travelers were mostly of the lineage BA.1. Pero yung sa ating community transmissions po, mostly po BA.2 na sila at nakikita po natin yan predominantly here in the National Capital Region as well as po in the Calabarzon area and in the other places of the country. So interestingly po, BA.2 ang naglaging malaganap sa ating bansa Although in the global database po, marami talaga ang BA.1. So what are the indications of this, Yusek? So one is that our government has been quite effective in preventing onward transmission of the international travelers. Kasi yung international travelers po natin, based sa ating datos, malami po talaga sa kanila BA.1. Ito po yung global prevalent sublineage. Pero sa nakikita po natin sa ating communities, kaunti lang po talaga yung BA.1. Ang pinakamarami po talaga yung BA.2 na community transmission. And that tells us also that there could be some hidden lines of transmission na hindi natin na-detect, or it is possible, Yusek, na may lumabas at saka siya talaga nag-spread. So there are also a lot of indications, and that will require further evidence that it seems to suggest na itong BA.2 could have some advantages or fitness in our local population kasi na mas marami po siya nakikita compared sa BA.1. Even if we detected BA.1 much earlier than the earliest sample of BA.1 was really much earlier than BA.2. Pero yung naging malaganap sa Pilipinas is really BA.2. If you're going to look at the numbers, I'll just go through this. USEC, I think we have already detected of the 517 total genome sequences we got with the Omicron lineage, 336 na po ang nasa BA.2, pero yung nasa BA.1 is 180, at yung isang B.1.1.529, ito po yung original Omicron, isa lang po yung na-detect natin among our cases. At ito po sa international travelers. So sa local cases po natin, mga 248 out of the 336 na samples na na-detect natin na BA.2 are coming from the National Capital Region. So malagana po talaga ang BA.2 dito sa atin. But we also would like to emphasize, Yusek, na on whole, for those where the data or the severity of symptoms are available, so we only have about 30% of these, 165 out of the 517 have available data. It also shows that on the whole, the symptoms have been largely milder and mostly asymptomatic po, Yusek.
Opo, yun nga po yung susunod kong tanong. Ito po bang BA.2 sublineage ay mas less severe kumpara po dun sa Omicron talaga, Omicron variant?
In terms of the symptoms based on the available data po, Yusek, parang pareho lang naman din sila. Yung kanilang symptoms mostly upper respiratory tract infections, mostly asymptomatic yung pinakamarami at saka po milder symptoms. So, but I would like to emphasize, Yusek, na just because we see asymptomatic at saka milder symptoms, it doesn't mean that it cannot be lethal, no? So because DOH has also reported that at least mga 2 na po yung deaths dito na confirmed na nagkakaroon ng Omicron. And at the same time, Yusek, it also, because a lot of our samples are coming from the National Capital Region and Calabarzon, it also brings emphasis to the fact that this is a population, or our population is highly vaccinated. Kaya nga po siguro na yung mga symptoms that are either asymptomatic or milder compared to the Delta variant po.
Opo. Doc, para lang din po maintindihan ng ating mga kababayan at maging malinaw, paano at bakit po nagkakaroon ng sublineage ang COVID variants? Dapat bang mabahala ang publiko dito?
Okay, itong virus natin, alam naman natin, magdadalawang taon na po tayo sa virus. Natural po talaga sa virus na mag-mutate. At saka habang nag-mutate siya, nag-acquire po siya ng mga mutations. No? So yung mga mutations, pwede natin gagawin kumbaga isa siyang tree, no? Phylogenetic tree, kung saan simula yung root, ang original, tapos nag-mutate, at nanganganak po siya. So the virus to have variants is really not natural. It is part of its evolution. At you don't have to be necessarily concerned about these variants. It's only if the mutations about increased transmissibility or more increased symptoms, nagkakaroon po tayo ng mga notifications na, variant of concern siya. You have to be on the watch out for this one. So yung pagkakaroon po, Yusek, na mga mutations at sublineages, natural po yan sa virus. The reason na nilagyan po sila ng sublineages kasi meron po tayong parental parental or the original ancestral virus at saka habang nag-multiply at nag-transmit from person to person, nag-accumulate po siya ng mutations. Kaya pwede natin i-represent siya into like a tree na may mga lineages. So yun po yung nangyari. So for example, itong Omicron, which was designated as a variant of concern on November 26 by the WHO, ang original po na parental lineage na B.1.1.529. Pero nagkaroon na rin po siya ng tatlong additional sublineages. Ito po yung BA.1, which is the global dominant sublineage of Omicron. Mga 97% ng mga nasa database natin is really of these sublineage. Tapos so, meron tayong BA.2 na bago lang po ito na-detect na 3% lang sa global sublineage. Yun nga lang po, USEC, nakikita nila na for example in Maharashtra, India, parang dumadami po itong BA.2 and sa atin din po sa Pilipinas. For some reason, ito po yung dumadami sa ating community transmission. Meron din po USEC na BA.3 na kaunti lang po, mga 40 lang yata ang na-share sa database. So as this virus evolves, we can expect na marami pa pong mga sublineages ang likely lalabas dito.
Opo.
Pero hindi naman po nagsasabi na just because may mga sublineages, mabahala po tayo. It's just really a nomenclature system for many of us in the genomics field para matrace po natin yung kanyang spread as well as mutation po niya.
Opo, pero Doc Cynthia, pwede po ba natin sabihin na itong BA.2.2 na nandito sa Pilipinas at sa India ay mas nakakahawa talaga kumpara po sa BA.1?
Ay, hindi po tayo talaga masasabi yan, Yusek, kasi parang pareho lang naman. In fact, nga yung BA.2, kaunti lang nga talaga dito sa buong mundo, 3% lang ng mga cases ang BA.2. So, kailangan nating pag-aralan ang paglalabas. Kasi maraming mga lineages lumalabas, we cannot definitely say na it's nakakahawa or whatever. I think they are still classically Omicron. Omicron, they're very, very highly transmissible. But the course of infection is rather short with a much milder symptomatology compared to the Delta variant. But at the same time, it probably also reflects the fact that we are highly vaccinated with this infection. But at the same also brings to the fore that we need to continue practicing our public health measures even if we are fully vaccinated.
Opo. Doc Cynthia, pagdating naman po sa iba pang COVID variants, sa ngayon, ilang porsyento po yung mga sample na tinetest ang Delta, Alpha at Omicron?
So USEC, starting this January po USEC sa ating mga local samples, practically po sila lahat Omicron. Mayroon pa tayong pangilan-ngilan na Delta noong December, pero itong January, starting po ng January, particularly in the NCR, halos lahat po sa kanila is Omicron na, and we also see this pattern in other parts of the country. Kung may mga Delta man doon, USEC, pangilan-ngilan lang, it's really just essentially Omicron starting in 2022 po.
Opo. Doc Cynthia, may tanong lang po yung ating kasamahan sa media. No? Tanong po sa inyo ni Lay Alvis ng GMA News at ni Red Mendoza ng Manila Times. The WHO said the next variant daw po will be more transmissible because it will have to overtake what is currently circulating. But the big question daw po is whether or not future variants will be more or less severe. Ano daw po ang comment ng PGC dito?
Also, thank you very much, Lay and Red, for that question. Also, primarily because this BA.2 is really, really very transmissible. The hypothesis is the next one will be more transmissible than this one, but that is not necessarily true. Kasi nakikita po natin the mutation of Omicron is about 37 in the spike region and overall about 55%. So there is also the possibility rin, USEC, na because of so many mutations occurring in the virus, magiging unstable po siya. No? So that is also a possibility. Now, and that could reflect on whether it will have increased severity or whatever. So it's very, very difficult to predict, USEC, ang maging anong mga ano yung unraveling nitong virus na ito, but there is a possibility indeed that the next one will be highly transmissible, but whether it's going to be fatal or more severe or not, we really don't know. But at the same time, tayo po sa Philippine Genome Center, in our discussions with our bioinformaticians and structural biologists, we also have this belief that because of the increased number of mutations, magiging unstable po yung mutation na ito, yung virus na ito because of increased mutations.
Opo. Sunod pong tanong ni Lay Alvis ng GMA News. Although nasagot niyo na po ito, baka may maidagdag lang po kayo. Basahin ko po yung tanong niya. Is it safe to assume that the Omicron variant is now dominant in the Philippines? Ano daw po yung ipinapakitang trend sa genome sequencing? How fast is it replacing Delta?
Also, thank you very much, Lay, for that question. So, Lay, gusto ko lang ipabati sa ating lahat na tagapakinig na when the 2022 opened, based on our sequencing results, in the middle of, starting on the third week of December, nakikita natin yung very sharp rise in the number of cases, sequence cases with the Omicron lineage. But by the time we entered 2022, starting this first week of January, almost 100% of the sequence cases we have, particularly in the National Capital Region, as well as in the Calabarzon areas, are already Omicron. So if ever we get Delta in other places, very, very few, one or two, and because, of course, they did not send us a lot of samples. But I think it is safe to say na practically all the January samples we're getting are already Omicron.
Opo. Tanong po ni Red Mendoza ng Manila Times, nakikita po ba ng PGC na ang Omicron variant ay mas airborne o mas naglalagi sa hangin na mas matagal kahit hindi sa close settings? Ano daw pong mga spike protein ang nagpapakita ng increased transmissibility nito?
In terms of the genomic sequence, Red, very interestingly, itong ating Omicron variant, no, ang kanyang mutations in the receptor binding domain, di ba? Yung meron tayong spike protein region, meron tayong iba-ibang domains, N-terminal domain, S1 region na cleavage site, merong mga receptor binding domain. Ito po yung region ng spike protein na nag-a-attach sa ating ACE2 receptor. At itong Omicron, ang kanyang mutations dito, ang dami, at least 15 mutations in the receptor binding domain alone. Samantalang sa Delta, yung sa receptor binding domain, dalawa lang yata, no? Pero sa Omicron, marami po talaga itong receptor binding. Now, so that is as far as the genomic information is concerned that we know of. Pero yung regarding po sa airborneness at how long it takes, wala po talaga kaming data niyan kasi hindi naman po kami nag-experiment with the virus. So probably we can get that kind of information from other laboratories. Kasi kung gusto mo talagang i-test ito, kailangan USIC yung laboratory mo, BSL level 3, at saka maganda yung grabe ang containment kasi you're going to be using live viruses. So because of the innate infectiousness at saka the risk of that, wala po tayong ganang experiments. We only can share to you information based on that genome sequence po.
Opo. Doc, kumustahin na rin po natin yung bagong genome sequencing laboratory sa Visayas at Mindanao. Ongoing na po ba ang operasyon nito?
Ang magandang balita po, Yusek, finally, despite all the bagyo and the canceled flights, na-install na po natin yung ating dalawang sequencing machines doon po sa PGC Visayas, sa UP Visayas in Miagao. Nagsisimula na po silang mag-test ng kanilang mga machines at sa kanilang mga workflow. Sa susunod na linggo naman po, na dumating na po doon sa Mindanao ang ating equipment, pero yung installation po sa susunod na linggo. So hopefully, USEC, no, as soon as they have polished their operations and protocol, magkakaroon po tayo ng isang formal inauguration at saka simula na rin po sila ng kanilang reporting doon as part of the Epidemiology Bureau's reports of our local cases based on our genomic biosurveillance.
Opo. Doc Cynthia, kami po ay nagpapasalamat sa inyong pagsama sa amin ngayong umaga at siyempre salamat sa inyong impormasyon at paliwanag. Dr. Cynthia Saloma ng Philippine Genome Center, mabuhay po kayo and stay safe po, Doc.
Maraming salamat po.